It is 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call to order our special library board meeting on Thursday, December 29th, 2022. We'll take quick roll call. Tony.
Aye.
Mandy.
Here.
Alana.
Here.
And Larry.
Here.
We have a full board here today, Betty.
Yay.
So we're looking for an approval of the order of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Agenda order passes. So our one agenda item is a proposed job description. And Betty, I'll let you kind of go through the proposed job description, talk about kind of the needs of the library as we move forward.
Thank you. And thank you guys for such short notice being able to meet for this discussion. Ellen and I met with the management team, and we discussed exactly what the changes look like as a whole group. And everybody is on board with the changes that are represented in the documentation. I will share my screen right now so we can all see the documentation together. The version that I'm going to show is slightly edited, but it's more so for clarification points that it's edited. And this is the structure of the organization that you guys had requested. So it's more clarification on that as well. So give me one moment to go to that. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. So in the agenda packet, I'm just going to show that you guys did receive. I didn't adjust this except for updating the name of adult service and patron service manager, or adult and patron service manager, because access service is not what the group wants to call it. We wanted it to be patron focused. That is the focus that the library is going in as a whole. It's one of the pillars that we're going to be working on. So changing that title to, in general, even when it gets separated out, it would become patron services manager. So we just clarified that it previously was the access service manager, but is now, when it's incorporated into the adult and patron services manager, it's the same jobs as access services, but focused, the name changes to focus the duties on patron, not necessarily access, because that's ambiguous. And then the rest of it remains the same about the technical services and collection development. Again, it was just the name title adjustment in that document since the last meeting. Each job description, and this is all still remains the same from the past meeting. I did just update the date there to reflect that it's today that we're discussing it. Each job description does get updated, and it is to clarify that they are all part of collection development and their focus points in collection development. So that's why every part is attached. The adult and patron services, it incorporates those patron service duties that were access service management related under their umbrella. And then youth services is included because of the analyzes collection usage statistics bullet point there, as well as a member of collection development team, selects library materials for specific collections, and oversees children and teen collection. Those are the three main bullet points that were adjusted to clarify what work was already being done at the library that just wasn't reflected in these job descriptions. And the way that this all came about was, I'll get to you in just a second, Larry, I see your hand. The way this all came about was from individual conversations from everybody, asking what they were doing and what wasn't being represented in their job descriptions, and what areas they needed assistance with or wanted better control of, or a better representation of their work. Go ahead, Larry.
I'll move to take discussion of these changes off of the table.
I guess I'm concerned with not moving forward with something as we wouldn't have anyone, we wouldn't be able to post a job, just the job and unable to fill it.
Point of order, there's a motion on the table. That motion was to take discussion of these changes off of the table. They were tabled at the last board meeting.
George second.
Got it. We have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed, same sign? All right, motion passes.
So point of clarification, where does that leave us?
Well, now we can discuss these changes and then vote on them as we see fit. My question is that discussion of these changes has been held with all the appropriate personnel in the library. Is that correct?
Yes, previously it was on an individual basis and since has been done as a whole group where I reiterated exactly what was said in those individuals with everybody as a collective. And everybody has responded the same as they did as individuals, which was in a positive manner.
Was the current vacancy, is that a result of any of this? Is there anything that the board needs to take into account with the vacancy that we have?
I was not given a reason for the vacancy. It in the interpretations of how it was handled and what has been told to me, it appeared premeditated, that this was not something that was made in that day or because of that meeting.
Okay. That's good enough. I just wondered if it pertained to this decision at all that we needed to worry about. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm unaware of what the reasoning was. But as you can see, this is the proposed adjustments. So this is currently what it is with the vacancy of the deputy director position. We've discussed that is going to be altering based on the needs. As you can see, circulation has no management over it. Aside from that deputy director, I've been acting that role. However, adult services has taken the brunt of documenting the procedural end of it. So this is more so to reflect that change. And then for technical services to be adjusted, you can see that on this, it doesn't show that they were a collection development, but it changes to where they aren't managing managers in their job of collection development. It gives ownership back to the youth services and adult services teams to manage their collections. This is just because I mentioned in the previous meeting that there was some changes that are coming down the line to you guys, and one of them, two of them are coming in January's meeting. So this is a little foreshadowing of that we intend to present for an with the deputy director funding, adult services full-time person, librarian, as well as a full-time program assistant. So combining those two part-times into one full-time. And with funding, we are still under budget for having those adjustments, but that's something for January's meeting. But so that way you can see that this is just one means to get things in better order for all teams. And that there are continuing discussions outside of just these individual changes going on. So this is further future. This is what I say, why I say that we intend for that patron services to only be a 2-year, 3-year gap that the adult services is taking it on. This is the ultimate vision for that, where that adult service librarian would then act as a reference librarian, splitting their time between circulation for evening access to be a librarian who can be reached instead of only during programs, which is currently what's happening, or scheduled weekend shifts that are alternating between management. So that is what is further down the line in our 5-year plan. So this is currently what the materials look like. And this is where the confusion for me, as well as for if there are any patrons who have questions about the collection, this is where confusion will come from circulation, not knowing who to point a patron to. Because all managers will receive patron requests, but by the time that they're received by the manager who actually oversees that department, a decision may have already been made by the technical services person, whether that material would be added or not. And from what I'm aware, without discussion. So this is to alleviate that small area, but again, we're going patron focused, and we need to understand like that a patron will feel comfortable that the adult librarian is going to be the one reviewing the adult material that they're suggesting and have a valid reason for or against it being part of the collection. And hopefully multiple reasons. And this is, weeding was a primary thing too, was all being done by technical services. Managers of their departments may have seen what was being removed, but from what discussions have led me to see is that there was minimal discussion about how those lists were created to be weeded, for the materials to be weeded, as well as no guidance into what collections were being weeded when. So this new proposed changes would make it to where the weeding would be directed by the management of their team at a time that they would be able to oversee it. It doesn't mean that they aren't going to be able to delegate it to other staff, whether that be circulation or anybody else, but or their own staff in their respective management roles, but that they have the ultimate say of what materials are in their collection, so they can better be prepared for their own programming. We have a lot of marketing things that we're planning coming up that the staff need to be very well aware and well versed in what they have to provide to the public in order for us to fill better fill gaps going into the future. This is, sorry, I don't see what number slide this is, but essentially
It's slide number 6.
yes, this is the slide that has the most updates. So I just want to confirm that I got my updates correct and that I touched on them. So give me 1 second to look at this. Yeah, the one edit to this slide is just that for clarification that youth and adult service managers would be responsible for their entire collections. It was select youth materials or select youth collections prior. What we meant by select is that they are the ones selecting it, not that they only look at a select amount of their collection. So that's all that is on there. That's clarified from the version that you guys received yesterday. Again, these bullet points touch on what I've been expressing, and I did not do a good job at the previous meeting, and I apologize for that. But I'm working towards getting you guys better representation of my thoughts in a documented form. So please feel free to give me feedback if this is better presented this time, so I know going forward that this is a version that you guys would appreciate seeing in the future. But essentially it's about ownership of the collection. It's about allowing departments to move at a pace that is accommodating to their schedules and what they have planned, because it's unrealistic to expect youth services to weed their collection in the middle of summer reading. So they should have ownership of what timeframes that everything is happening in their collections. And the collection development becomes now a full team effort. So the checks and balances are spread amongst the team in a more equal manner than it was before, where it was all pushed onto one person, and that was technical services. At the time, that was due to staffing that they had it set up that way, but now since then, there's been adult library or the youth librarian added, as well as program assistants to both departments, and there's now more plans for expansion to the duties that are going to be under those management roles. So it seems like the perfect opportunity for the staff to reincorporate the collection development aspect of their jobs that they already had stated they were doing, but in a formal way where it's reflected on their documentation. Any questions?
This is George, Mandy George. I guess it's not a question so much as you had just asked for some feedback. And I really do like how you have it laid out this time. You know, not only with the visual that that's great, but I like the bullet points that makes it very clear and understandable. Not being a librarian, I don't understand all the details of what you're talking about, but overall I get the gist of it. And to me, it makes sense. And I trust your expertise and I would support this 100%. So.
Thank you for the feedback, Mandy. Any other questions for me?
Well, I am a librarian, and I also think that going forward, this plan has promise.
Thank you. Any others?
I'm happy to see that the job descriptions include a master's degree as a minimum qualification.
Mhm.
When did you record that? Any other questions or comments? All right, I will make a motion to approve the job description as listed at tonight's meeting.
That motion is already on the table.
Oh, okay.
I'll second
This is-
it.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Oh. You just muted yourself?
Sorry,
Or somebody muted you. Somebody muted you. We won't name names.
no. We have a motion and a second on the table to approve the current job description. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. All right, that is the end of our agenda. Unless there's, well, we just passed motion, so end of our agenda. I will make a
Move to
motion.
adjourn.
Thank you.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Well, no one's opposed, so meeting is complete. And I know Betty said it, but thank you for the quick turnaround in meeting tonight. And I hope everyone had a great holiday and a happy new year.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm
Bye.
supposed to say his name is Traeger.
Duly noted.
He wanted his name on record, so. But happy new year. Have a great night.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.